like I said, for the rest of this year at least, until, and when I say you, I mean we, like all of us. I don't mean you. Okay. Your ego's like, hey, no, no, just us. Okay. We are no, we're not sugarcoating this. All right. And this is a great platform class for me to prove to you in this class that you are channeling darkness. This is the open to channel class. Okay. And so we have been talking about channeling this and channeling that and channeling all these things. But the more and more you see through the illusion, and the more you connect with your remembering, the more you connect with your real, authentic soul, okay, the more that you can see that guilt and shame and fear and resentment and all of those worldly emotions are actually not a part of your true flame makeup. Okay. They are synthetic and programmed. So anytime you are experiencing guilt, you are channeling darkness. Now, let me show you how they manipulated the flames here. All right. When I tell you that this place cannot operate without source energy, okay, nothing can exist here. No, nothing. It's just like I said, if the circus came to town and no one came, okay, there would be no circus. And so the more you are participating in your old seed reality, the more unconscious you are without knowing. The more that you are using your motivation, your intelligence, your heart energy to play this game that you will never, ever, 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 ever win. You will never become sovereign as a seed, ever. So the more that you think you're being a good person by parenting through guilt, or you're being a good person by letting your shame dictate how you show up, the more you are channeling your own destruction. You are choosing to be minded as this system. And again, just like I said in the last Jedi class, like we're in a custody battle, you know? We have one parent that is narcissistic, sociopathic in nature. We've got this other parent that is gentle and loving and kind and considerate and compassionate. But we weren't raised with that parent. We were raised by the narcissist. Okay. So we are going to have that influence in our persona, in our personality, in our mindset. It's going to be deeply embedded into our internal algorithm. And until you can see what is the system and what is you, what is the illusion and what is authentic, you're not going to know the difference between your own narcissistic concepts of yourself and the systems until you can back up and become the observer and realize that anytime you have ever led with your heart, it did not work out for you. It did not. Because you are only rewarded in this system through obedience or negativity. That's it. If you lead anything with your true heart, it will be build you up and break you down, build you up and break you down, because there's no such thing as love to this system. But see, they built it on a way that they knew that the flame speaks. They built the whole system on our language, even though it contains no vibration of love. Just like all the Disney movies, that's speaking our language. Okay. All of the beauty, it's speaking our language. But it is designed to draw you into what your heart is and then manipulate you and destroy you and bleed you dry until your body physically dies. So let's look at some belief systems that are actually holding you hostage. Belief, something that I was forced to buy into Think about that. Invest into, witness, practice more than once. Okay. To the point where I didn't necessarily choose whether I believed it. It just happened so many times it became part of me. And then because it was sitting in a negative frequency, it called in a thought form to guide it and it became alive. That means if it is separate from who I am as source, yet it's part of me, that's going to be what I experience as separation. Because source will never integrate into darkness. And darkness can drain source, but it can never be source. So anytime you feel limited, separated, okay, held back from, stuck, lost, confused, alone, small, helpless, hopeless, okay, that is you witnessing and channeling your own thought form. You're channeling that because that is actually not you. So, the one thing that I have been working to communicate the best the way that I can in these last few classes is to back up and show you the game. Because if you do not start to pay attention to this game, you're going to keep operating the way you always operated, even though you may know spiritually or you may understand or understand something. If you do not learn the rules of this game and who you are supposed to be playing, you are going to go with it and it's not going to be fun. Okay? And there was a really harsh truth in the Jedi class about that middle timeline. It's going to be a very intense purification. And I met with a friend slash client last night, and her purification has begun. And I sat with her while she grieved a really big loss. And it wasn't something that it could have been dealt with earlier. You know what I mean? Like we could have been dealing with these things earlier. But if you continue to channel your own darkness, it's going to be, like I said, every part of you that is asleep is going to be awakened if your soul is here for salvation. If your soul is here for the sovereign timeline, you will go through every purification of every dark entity that you are channeling that you believe is you. And that means any thought of any shame, that is not you. Any thought of any guilt, that is not you. I have taught you guys the three temptations of Christ, and yet you still hold yourselves hostage over your past. You are still believing who you are right now because of your past, which was programmed, inserted, calculated, scripted. And if you're going to hold yourself hostage to who you were while you were under hypnosis, then you are still under hypnosis. And the spiritual community believes that they are all awake, but only one part of you could be awake. Every time you have a thought of guilt, you're asleep. Every time you have a shameful thought, you are asleep. And you are thinking that you are doing the right thing by feeling that guilt, because that's what they do to the chosen ones or the ones with light in your chest, is they know how our heart works. And they know apathetic. They know we're compassionate by nature. They know that we take full responsibility as creators somewhere, consciously or unconsciously. So if the family is messed up, it must be our fault. And again, I wanted to kind of go back, and there was something that Gina said, there was something that Maura said, and I think there was something that Gina said, that when I was like on a walk talking to God, three really powerful points came in for all three of you. And so I wanted to share, because it's not really about you, it's what you shared, because it's what we're all going through. It's not like you, okay? But it was a great share. It was a great realization. It was a great unwinding. And I want to make sure that I hit on those 3 points, because I want to kind of finish that conversation we were having a little bit deeper now that Source was involved. Okay. Let me see if I can find it. And I know I can't because I looked at it this morning. Okay. So one key point, and this is not like you, Gina. It's like this is all of us. Okay. She said, in meditation, all right, I went back to my childhood, right? And I was recalling the fact that my parents weren't married. And obviously coming from religious background, that's that's a big old shame right there, right? But here's the thing. You weren't in meditation with source if you felt guilty. If you were in meditation with source, you would have been set free. So who are you in meditation with? I just want you to feel that for a minute. Because if you guys go into the stillness and you're being haunted by the things that you've done, source is not there. Because when source is around, it's like you are reborn, remembered, purified, loved, considered. And source would be like that never, never, never was the truth. So again, if you kind of come out of meditation or contemplation and you feel like how can I truly create my reality when this is how I started? Like my body was developed out of shame. My muscles, my nervous system was created out of shame. And I identify with that so much, because like I have such good recall that I remember conversations my mom having about me in her own womb of not being wanted, okay, and all kinds of things. And so again, whether you are aware or not, your body is aware. And your body is just trying to get born here. Like, I will do whatever it takes. So we're sending our parents stem cells. We're trying to create endorphins so that mom will be a little bit happier. I mean, there's a lot of power that newborn or that fetus has. And yet, we're going to be born into the story that is not for you, it is for system consumption. How can we milk this source being to the point where they are constantly emotionally terrified, unworthy, and the more they try, the smaller they feel. So when they grow up, they'll never awaken. They plotted you. Okay. And this is why I'm so adamant about you guys learning how to play chess. If you actually look at the game of chess and you take the etymology of what a pawn is and what a bishop is, it's this game. And that's why they hid the queen forever. Okay. Now, if you don't know how to play chess, you don't need to know, but you have to understand that you're here to know what your opponent's next move is before they make it if you're going to get to the other game. You don't get to the other game unless you beat this one. And you beat this one by not participating. Whenever you say the word try, you're channeling separation. Okay? I can't let go of that. That's your worship gene. I have to feel guilty for the sins that I have created. You were under hypnosis. Okay, let's just take a friend conversation here. Let's say, and this has happened to me, and I have no shame in sharing it. You go out drink, we all go to drinking, right? We all go drinking. And I get blackout drunk. Okay? I'm blackout drunk. But I'm still animated. Okay? And some of you got video. All right? And let's say someone in our little group maybe thinks like their little darkness has some resentment of me because of something. I don't know. And so they make sure that they get what I'm doing on video. And then when we come out, I don't have any recall of what I did. But it was probably pretty humiliating. Okay. Because, you let your inhibitions down and your wild side can come out, or, maybe your sadness will come out, or maybe your anger will come out. We don't know what happens when you're blackout drunk, but you're under the hypnosis of that spirit because alcohol is a spirit. And you're going to express all of the things that you don't feel that you can express when you're not under the influence. Okay. And let's say I totally humiliate myself in front of all of you. Okay? But that's not me. How many of you guys would see me differently for the rest of our friendship afterwards because of one night that I was under the influence and acting out of alignment or acting crazy? Would you hold that against me for the rest of my life? Because that's what you're doing to yourself. And then the one person who's like secretly misery loves company, right, wants to keep showing me the video. Like, remember when you did this? And that's the first temptation is they will not let let go of your past. Because they know that as long as you are in their movie, you stay a seed. And if you could let go of your past and say, that was not me, I was under the influence, which 100% you were. This is why I'm having my new class study demonology, because it is so specific what they do to each person. If they know that it's a real strong dragon warrior energy female, they will make sure that the dad is emotionally unavailable or not there at all, or passive and weak. Because she's going to need that strong masculine role model to complete her mission. And if she does not have that, she will try to go search for him instead of do her mission her whole life. Or she will marry dad, and she's got to be the strong-minded, spiritual one in the family. It's so scripted. Okay, if you're a chosen male here, which means you're choosing the sovereign game, okay, you will be manipulated, you will be used, you will be smothered, you will be under-nurtured by your mother. Some way, you will be played by the mother energy. Now, feminine energy, if you are that strong woman, then you probably have just an equally strong unconscious mother who has big opinions, okay? Or some sort of weird addictions and things like that. And it's like you're thinking, oh, no matter what I did, my dad just didn't love me. It's scripted. It's so scripted. And this is why, if you start studying demonology, it's very precise on each one of us. Because they look at us like cows and sheep and pigs. They don't look at you as a human. They look at what you can put into their system to facilitate their creation of reality. Because remember, they can create matter, okay? Matter. But they cannot create life. They can build the shell. They have never been able to create a tree or a real child unless they stole genetic material and then somehow talked a flame into giving up their soul to put in that. They cannot create. And that is the biggest takeaway from demonology. They cannot create. You can. So when you believe that you cannot create, you are channeling darkness. Feel that. When you believe that you cannot create your own wealth, your own dream home, your own counterpoint, your own community, you're channeling darkness. So some of you are like, I can't channel spirit. You're doing it all the time, 24 hours a day. But here's the truth of it is, if you are heavy in channeling darkness, which is, right, resentment, and it's criticism, and it's judgment, and it's shame, and it's guilt, and that is who is consuming your life force energy, and the spirit of source is gentle and quiet and loving and consistent, it's underneath what you're channeling right now. It's never not been there. It's just underneath. Just like Gaia is underneath all the poison that's here, all the buildings. Gaia is still underneath. Source is underneath what you're channeling. But it's just like anybody, you guys have all been around either a sibling or a coworker that was a professional victim. They suck all the oxygen out of the air. And dark energy operates as a victim or a perpetrator. That is it. They live in a constant state of Gollum, my precious, right? Like that is the energy of a negative thought form. And then what will happen is the chosen ones or the ones who are choosing ourselves, right? We're not paying attention to these belief systems that we're racking up. And because we have a natural instinct to defy authority and a natural instinct to not conform, what we do is we keep going out and creating more shameful things, okay? Because we're operating off of the frequency of shame when we take that next assignment or that next job or that next relationship. Because fundamentally, the ingredients you're building your reality out of are the voices in your head. And they are telling you, yeah, go there. And this is why, like, you've got to clean the slate. You've got to get really still. You've got to get really quiet. Okay. You've got to get rid of all of your distractions. And then what you're going to see is you're going to see all of the warfare right in front of your face that you actually haven't really been seeing in yourself. You've been seeing in others. Because the faster you move, the more aware you are of what's in here. And it is literally the choice to be still. And then the voices that come up in your head, it's one by one. Okay, turn towards it. Just like I said, we're not ignoring the chemtrails. We're turning towards the emotion and then we're clearing the script. And then we're acting as a sovereign creator. Okay? So my message to you from Source, Gina, was whenever you sit and you call upon Source, all right, I recommend that you hold your heart and you don't ask for information. You ask to be held. You ask to remember. You ask to feel the energy of Source. And if you struggle a little bit to kind of connect because there's a thought form or something, think about something you love unconditionally with all of your heart. I know for me, it's my kids. Sometimes I need to go back to when they were babies before they pissed me off as teenagers. Go back to when they were babies and just let their little feet, their little hands, and immediately your heart will start to warm and then Source will be there. But in this game, it's vibrational matching. So when we're in lack, Source wants nothing to do with you, not because it can't hear you, because it doesn't speak lack. Okay? It says, I am, and so are you. And unfortunately, whatever you say I am too, as a creator, well, then all of the energy of life force energy fills that I am template. Look at it like, it's an ice cube maker. And every time I am, you're filling that ice cube maker up with substance and ether, and it becomes the form of whatever you say. So let's say you've been saying, I am in lack for a really long time. There's a lot of those ice cubes. And ice is really solid matter that is constantly proving itself to you because it's solid. See? Every time you look at the bank account, every time you look at this, every time you look at your house, every time you look at your partner, it's like, oh, the ice is right there in my face. And that's why I said the illusion that hell is hot. No. But see, you have the flame. You could melt that ice like that if you stop believing in it. But the only way that you're going to stop believing in that is to stop giving life to the thought form that's using your voice to speak as you. Because remember, I said they cannot create anything. So what they've learned how to do over these millions of years is they've learned how to become professional mimics. They can mimic source through light, false light, which is what most of the New Age community is false light. Is the rabbit hole is false light. If you start to create a spiritual journey that just keeps taking you deeper and deeper, deeper into truth and truth, but you are not becoming a divine sovereign creator from it, it's false light. It's nothing more than a show. Okay. And like I said, when you study demonology, as soon as you get to a certain level, right, where your heart closes down enough, because they take you through reverse source training where they put you, if you're an actual human, they'll put you through such excruciating, heartbreaking things and loss that you start to close down your heart. As soon as your heart's closed to a certain degree, they want you to go become a professional priest, a deacon, a pastor. They want you in the church. And this is 98% of religion is trained through the absence of source. And they speak the scriptures, okay? But it's a different frequency underneath because it triggers your worship gene. Anything that triggers your worship gene is false light. Okay? I remember when I was on tour and I was doing this big I Am tour. And I was on stage and I remember channeling this one moment where it said, if you guys walk away from this weekend and you remember me, I didn't do my job. If you guys walk away from this weekend and you remember how powerful you are, then I did my job. I don't even care if you remember my name. That's me not doing my job. If you are like, oh, Jess, you see, that's false light. So if you are a teacher out there and you're still wanting people to be screaming your name, that's false light. And I don't really think this group is. But again, when the ego is working so hard to strive in the third dimensional reality, the ultimate egoic success is to be known, to be seen, to be respected. And the ultimate success of source is to be so powerfully invisible that everyone around them feels powerful. So you got to check your motives, you got to check your motivation, because motivation through lack is coming from channeling darkness. Okay? And again, Gina, maybe I took what you were saying out of context. Maybe you weren't meditating. Maybe you were just contemplating. Okay? Because if you can get into the stillness, right, and you can calm the voices, right, that's where source is going to be. So maybe it was just you sitting with the voices, which is perfect too, because you got to know what they're saying about you. And that's why we have so much distraction is I have so much distraction. I don't need to know what the voices in my head are saying about me because I'm focused on you. I'm focused on what this person's doing. Okay? And the faster you move, you're literally subconsciously trying to outrun your past. Because you're afraid that if you stop, it's all going to come into you, which it does. Okay? And again, this is like it's so important that you understand that if you are actually starting to take embodiment seriously and you are criticizing and reliving your past, you are actually channeling a spirit, an egregore. Okay, so let's say when you see who am I, how do I feel about myself with money? If you have the unworthy feeling anywhere, that's an egregore. That's not you. You're channeling an egregore, which is a giant collective, conscious, negative entity that was created out of group think. And the more people who buy in to money creates unworthiness, the bigger it gets. And then you see these teachers out there that are like, money's energy and money just wants you to love it. You're right. But if you don't clear the first egregore, then you might love money, but you're going to feel unworthy in the presence of it. So the unworthiness is actually a lie. If you are unworthy, right, first of all, you wouldn't exist, and they wouldn't be screwing with your childhood. They wouldn't be screwing with your relationships right now. They wouldn't be screwing with your body right now if you weren't essential to their existence. Okay. And those of you in the Decode the Mirror class, I've given you really precise demonology information that not just to take you on a tangent, but actually fit with what we're doing right now, because you don't need to go completely all the way to like I did. I mean, I studied exorcism, and I'm really good. I'm really grateful I did that, because it really showed me what how distinct the personalities are of what love is, and what darkness or emptiness is. And love just is. It's unchanging, it's unconditional, it's understanding, it's compassionate, it's allowing, which means that I can have I can be surrounded in my life right now with unconsciousness, and I can allow them and I can love them. I'm not worried for them. I'm not trying to wake them up. I'm not resenting them. I'm not judging them. It's allowing. Because the more you are like that, then the more they can wake up by your influence, because you're being influenced by darkness constantly. So who's influencing the opposite? And Christ made such a huge impression that after all of this time, all we have to do is connect with that. And when they describe him as weak and soft, you guys have no idea who this energy actually is. Total badass flame. Total badass flame. And did not walk alone, walked with a dragon tribe of women. Okay? It was literally holy fire, and that's why we remember. If he was just a sweet, nice, kind person, well, that's what you are. Are you going to be remembered? You're sweet and you're kind and you're loving. Are you going to be remembered? No, because you're not channeling your holy fire. And you're not going to channel your holy fire until you realize who you are up against. And they don't have to be, they don't even care if you're mad at them, because that just feeds the system. The real enemy is the ones that you have collected. The darkness inside of you that makes you believe that you cannot have, be, do whatever the hell you want as a creator. Okay? So let's take the next one, because I want to get these little thoughts. Gina, do you have anything you want to add or say to that? And this was not directed at you. It was just such a good share that you had.
That's really helpful, and you're sort of reaffirming things that have been coming up for me. Um, it that realization wasn't necessarily something that I felt guilty about, but it was just, I think, helpful for me to realize that this is something that I've been holding on to my whole life, and I
Yeah.
have to let it go. I didn't feel guilty about it, but it was just sort of another revelation of something that I was not even aware of, that
Hmm.
I've been holding, and it has to go because it's not who I am.
It's not. And
So,
like we said in class, like we can finally let go of what happened, because I
mhm,
want you to look at it like you were blackout drunk or you were under hypnosis. That's not you being in your true flame, love, Christ energy would have never done the things that you did. You also would have never allowed the things that happened.
mhm,
And so that's what I mean about seeing yourself as a seed, right? Being a seed is kind of like helpless. It's kind of like you're experiencing a reality, but you're locked up, you're in a shell. You know, you got to wait for the water to come to you. You got to wait for the sunlight to get down to you. And if you think like a seed, like I'm going to be this same version of myself in sovereignty, you will never make it if you keep identifying yourself as that seed. And the seed is the one that hurt the family by being born. You know, the seed is the one that, like, was the scapegoat or the golden child or the left one or the sick one or the whatever. Like, as long as you identify yourself with that, you will be milked, used, and suck dry of all of your life force energy. And then your body will physically die because they don't care about your body. They care about how much energy you can produce. And so then what they do too, and I sent this video to my decode class. I even tagged you, Gina, because I thought you were in that class. But it was talking about how, like, they even take score of everything you do in your life that's bad. So when you get to the light, they remind you of everything naughty you did and then tell you that you need to go back and finish this. And because you are like, oh my gosh, I did, you will go right back in. So they literally create karma for you. They set you up in situations, in bad business deals. Okay. And then when they don't work out and you fight, flight, friend, fawn, friend them, right? However you deal with it, then, and this is why I wanted to finish with Maura's thought because it was so good. Like what he said about the more embodiment work I do, the more guilt and shame I feel, right? And I want to touch on that because I remember having this conversation with Andy actually, like when I was going through hell, and I was like, it seems like the closer I get to the light, the more guilt and shame I feel. The worse I feel, like I really feel bad about the things that I did before. See, the thing is when you're playing in the matrix, in order to survive and adapt, you are constantly creating karma for yourself so they can use it against you later. But they also give you a mask of, well, it's their fault. And you had to do that. And everything happens for a reason. So you're wearing this like mask of like self-preservation. And so what happens is when you start going through your ego death, all of your masks start to fall off. And then one of the first masks that falls off is like self-preservation. So now all the guilt and the shame is underneath. Because the thing is like the little soul inside of you is like would never want to hurt anyone, not even a bug, you know? And the fact that you're wearing this mask that kind of self-preservated your ego a little bit and made you kind of righteous or justified for the things that happened, when that mask goes, all they know they have it perfectly set up. Well, okay, if they start going toward the light, this mask is going to burn off, but then all the guilt and shame is there. And they will feel so horrible about everything that has happened the closer they get to the light that they will think that God is judging them. And so they will either give up, right? Or they will let go of the process. And I mean, we've probably done that for several lifetimes. Where it's like the first mask falls off of self-preservation, like, well, when we're like fighting for our right and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like all I feel is guilt and shame for everything I've ever done in my entire life, like even being born. And that is actually when you meet their installed program. They want you to live there because that will keep you in the worship gene. And Morris, you could probably account to this. Like when you're going through it, you're kind of like, God, forgive me. I'm such a man. It's like, that's like that worship gene of like looking for outside repentance. And I would say that that's probably where like really raw Christianity is, where they're constantly in repentance and they're constantly in God forgive me and God save me and God help me. Because I remember going through that, Morris, like where I was like praying to like just forgive me, and I was like consumed by the guilt and shame that I felt once the egoic mask starts to burn. But that's just the second layer. Okay. So does that resonate, Morris? Yeah. Anything you want to add?
Um, I said the other day, man, this stuff is heavy, and I'm like, "Phew, it's heavy." And you mentioned a little bit earlier, you were talking about something, and I was like, man, sometimes ignorance was bliss. And then I was like, you know what? Ever since I was really young, I just wanted to find out what wasn't right. And I'm like, ignorance would be, it's been miserable AF.
Yeah.
And so just the exposure of these conversations you're having over the last 2 weeks is like, quantum leap compared to what we've been doing for the last couple of years.
Right.
Can I share an experience I had yesterday?
Please, yeah.
So, uh, well, it was Wednesday after the class, and my real estate broker, I had referred him my other mother's house to sell, right? And he gave me specifics on a referral fee that he was going to give me. And so after class, then I went over to meet him and get a check. Well, it was supposed to be almost $3,200, and he gave me a check for 2,000.
Oh,
And
of course.
I was like, okay. Um, I was triggered, unclear, like,
Mhm.
did I make a mistake? Right. And like blame, think of outside sources, right?
Right.
And then somebody came to see him, and so we didn't have any time for discussion, which I was glad that happened that way. And so I just started looking at it like, okay, what's the gift in this? And so I spent the whole day in process,
Good.
like really deeply. Like I sat in the parking lot in my car for more than 10 minutes just processing the anger. And
Good.
then I went to the bank to put it in, sat in the parking lot there for another 10 minutes, more anger. But literally the whole day was in process of uh, really looking at it. And I can't believe how many aspects of myself this brought up. I mean, massive. I was like processed all day. And even to that night when I was going to sleep, I'm still feeling feelings and seeing different aspects. Woke up in the middle of the night, started processing
Good.
more. And I've gotten to where a lot of that is almost neutral,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I don't have that much more energy because I'm like, well, I want to talk to him about it, but then I realize, well, I'm not going to talk to him about it until I feel no charge on it.
Right.
And
Right.
then, maybe I get to the place where it's like source tells me, don't worry about it. You got everything you need, right? Maybe
Or
that,
he's like, dude, I made a mistake. Here you go.
yeah. And so I'm
Right.
holding all of those as a
Mm-hmm.
possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm, for the last 2 days, I'm just like, what a gift,
Right.
man.
Yeah.
But such a great script for me to process. And I feel just that has made me feel more empowered,
Right.
less worried about money, less and feeling more of my own purpose starting to come through. I'm like, God, what, that was easily worth $1,000.
Right. That was the best therapy money. Right.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, and I don't remember who I was directing this at, but I was saying whatever is happening right now, okay, like whatever's bouncing off the mirror is these fractured parts that want to come home. So even though it kind of felt like you were being like used a little bit or misguided, it was your part of unworthiness or, like not being paid what you're worth or all those things. It was coming home in the form of anger, right? And probably confusion and all of that. And you sat with it, right? So you guys, when you start looking at your unworthiness rather than the money issue, the money issue will go away. But again, remember, the patriarch is the surface. Look at the surface for your truth. And the feminine is, how does it make you feel about yourself? So if you go, how does not being paid what I thought I was going to get, how does that make me feel about myself once you process the anger? You'll start to see, oh, it's the egregore of unworthiness. Okay. And even though you might see the thing is when you're angry, that's grief's bodyguard. So you'll be like, I'm worth it. And this guy screwed me over. And blah, blah, because you're projecting to like protect that little unworthy, like, thought form inside of you. Okay. And again, like once you get past the anger, then you can get into the grief, right? And the biggest hypnosis that the flames have is unworthiness, or that we're not chosen, or that source doesn't see us. Okay. And again, we don't realize that we're producing a source that's literally creating a giant reality. And if there's only 3 million flames on the planet, you guys, we are fueling all of this. So every time you get a gas bill, well, that's my energy. Every time you get an electric bill, that's my energy I'm paying for. Okay. Like the lights are on. I could do that with my own heart. And see, this is why they don't tell you that they're not using jet fuel because they're using Tesla's energy on the airplanes, but they don't want you to know it's available because it will help you remember. You see? So it's so good that you sat with it and woke up in the middle of the night and processed it, and that's great. What you want to start also, and you're probably already doing this, but it's like looking for the entities that keep setting you up. Okay? Because again, like we do a lot of inner work and then we are hoping that the mirror is going to change. But like what Morris said, that was the best $1,000 I've spent. So he's not like hoping that all this inner work is going to get him the $1,000 back. He's using it as like, you know, lesson learned, right? But and again, the more you do this, the more money will just be magnetized to you. Okay, like you're never going to have to earn or work again. The idea of I have to work is unworthiness. The idea of I have to earn is unworthiness. And that's why they created money, because they wanted to create something that they could fill up with source energy to make you believe that that's how you get source energy. But if you actually look at money like an empty vessel, that it actually isn't even alive until I put energy into it, right? And then it becomes whatever I want, which you guys will learn in the money ritual. And I didn't post it yesterday because I had the thought that because you're going to be using your voice and your really strong authority in this ritual, I don't want you guys to do it prematurely before you feel reverence. Because you're going to be working with fire and different elements, I want you to kind of work through some of these thought forms and aggregors first, so that when you actually do this money ritual, it's like you are creating an unbreakable bond with money with no voices interfering, or at least less voices, because then you will feel that power of source and you won't have to do it 5 times and you won't be sitting there going, this is silly. Because if you do, that's a thought form, right? Because again, like even though they're behind the curtain doing all kinds of feminine rituals, they project out into the world that those things are witchy or demonic or they're silly. That stuff doesn't work. But see, what they don't realize is they don't realize is that if you start to clear some of those thought forms out, your voice is going to be different, and your voice is going to take on authority. And you might not hear it with your physical ears because it's a tonal resonance. And I studied all of this stuff when I was building my record label, the neurosomatic resonance of sound. Okay. And there's a certain of sound of your source that permeates matter. It cuts through it. But if my voice is filled with thought forms of unworthiness and thought forms of rejection and thought forms of resistance and resentment and guilt and shame, I'm not going to have that power. Even if my voice sounds exactly the same, my resonance will not have the power to command the Red Sea to move. And that's what you want. You want to move mountains. You want to cut those Red Seas. You want to be like deliberate with what you're doing. So what I'm asking for you guys is to clear the thought forms that are local, the ones that are just right there, and let go of the hypnosis. Okay. One thing I've learned about doing this inner work is when you let go of your past, no one holds it over your head. No one brings it up. It's only when you think you've let go of it, but your subconscious hasn't. That's when your family's like, remember what you did? It was so stupid at that bar. You know, you're going to hear it from someone. But if you are like, I was under hypnosis, so none of that is true. And you like own that. And then you take responsibility for unpacking where the physical shame is trapped, right? Then now your spark starts to become a flame. And that's what we want is like, I can already tell Morris is going to the sovereign timeline because he processed all night. Okay. That's embodiment. He's not saying, well, these things are, nothing's going my way. He's like, they're coming and I'm grateful for them and I'm processing it. So I can already tell you that he will be there. But if you're kind of like getting triggered through the day and, if you're just getting through your day, you understand that these thought forms are not just negative voices. There's a thought form of sleepiness. There's a thought form of forgetfulness. So when I ask you guys, like, how's your embodiment work doing? And you're just like, you are channeling darkness. If embodiment is not the most important thing in your universe right now, you are possessed with darkness. And you might not want to hear that. Because you are not choosing your own salvation. You realize 3-Eye Atlas is literally watching everything you do. So if you go to bed and you've done no embodiment work, and you are just in this family gang of thought forms and egregores and belief systems and all of this, and you really think that by taking this class or someone else's class is going to get you somewhere, you're not getting anywhere. And just like I sat with a friend last night, why she cried and cried, and probably the biggest loss of her life. But that's how it's going to be. You are going to lose everything you are attached to. Every hope and every dream that you have in your heart, if you are saying yes to this but doing nothing, you're going to lose all of it because that's going to get you to ground zero. Okay? Ground zero. That was the ritual of 9/11, you guys. When the Twin Towers fell, that represent duality, it brought us to ground zero because 12/12 was the new beginning. Every bombing and war, it's all ritual because they can't make a move without a ritual because they have to summon certain demons to give them power to do certain things. So you think, oh, we're having a war with, no, it's a ritual to exchange power because source is not there. And what you don't realize is that you're doing negative rituals when you believe the voices in your head. And if you participate with a trigger, you're also giving an offering. And this is another thing I really learned about in demonology is rituals versus offerings. So let's say it's like, oh, he just doesn't care about you and blah, 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 blah in your head, right? And then you speak the words, that's an offering. You just induced and gave access to that demon to speak through you when you participate. When you I'm speaking my truth. So again, this is what I'm saying is consent is not just I don't consent. It's consenting by speaking the negative things that are in your body. It's actually letting it like consume you and take you down a rabbit hole. It's being on social media instead of embodiment work. That's an offering. And when you give an offering, you are literally like exchanging vows. And the more you do that, the more they will call other darkness in because you're saying yes. And you're never going to feel like darkness because you're the flame. And the more disconnected you are from your own body, the more you're going to think you're this loving, kind hearted, gentle person. And your body is full of demons. And you're going to be terrified of it. And you're going to be constantly contacting doctors and looking online for solutions of your own body's health when all it's saying is, no, I don't have a dis-ease. This is shame built up. No, I don't have an infection. That's anger built up. Okay. And again, like it's your body saying, we're just the vessel. So you're letting yourself be filled up with these demons, and then you're still trying to act like a light worker. And that's why we're always feeling so like, what am I doing wrong? Right? And so I want to cover one last thing, what Donna said. And Donna was saying, it was perfect timing that we were talking about what we were talking about because they had finally sat down and had the conversation. Her husband's turning 70, right? And he loves and adores her, wants to take care of her, but he's 70. Like at some point, guy's gonna want to retire, right? And they do. They have a beautiful lifestyle. And it's kind of like that's a scary thought. Like she said, like we're not gonna have the same kind of money. We're not gonna be able to do the same things. But see, that's thinking like the seed. That's not letting yourself graduate from this life. That's you saying yes to the next script in their movie. At 70, we do this. No, no. How about we retire the story of age? We retire the story of, us having to go on a lower budget so we can grow older and die. Right? But again, that's what you think is like the responsible thing to do is like face the guilt or face the fear. But see, you're only facing the fear to clear it out of your body. You're not owning it. Do not own this story. Be super grateful that he was able to work as long as he was working. Okay. But now from that empowerment position, say money is actually in service of the child of God. Okay. Opportunities, resources are begging to come to you, but your own darkness is pushing them away. No, she feels unworthy. She couldn't handle that. Or if you do let a little bit slip in, you feel so uncomfortable with it, you get rid of it really quickly. Okay? None of that is you. So if you do not learn how they are thinking, operating, offering, ritualizing, thinking, feeling through you, you're going to literally take responsibility for everything they do. Everything these little dark energies do inside of you, you're going to have to take responsibility for all of it, and you're going to never feel worthy of your own source that way. You won't, because it's devastating what they're doing because they're coming from the vibration of death. Their time is always running out. They never have enough. Right? They keep coming up short. They keep running out of time. They're running a haunting sequence with you. That's how they died. Okay? And just like I said, wars and stuff are created to create giant egregores. Okay? Well, they're also creating them on social media. So when you look at something big that's happening and you pay attention to it, you are inviting that egregore into your physical reality. So like I said, until you get to a certain level of like true knowing the game, this is how you'll know you're starting to really like no longer participate is you'll go on social media and you'll feel the ick instead of curiosity. And you'll just be like, ugh. Okay. You'll be hearing something and you'll see it's like complete illusion, but it doesn't really trigger you. You're just like, yeah, that's a Hollywood set. You're not like you're not like getting mad about it. It's just it is what it is. It's a game of chess. Okay. So like for Gina's story, it's like, okay, yes, we're gonna feel the fear of that's where our current vibration is. And then we're gonna find that fear in our bodies, or I'm gonna do it in my body. And then when I let that go, right, I'm going to let more and more of that go so I can become sovereign enough to sit down and do a ritual as source with the voice of source to command my new life of a bloom. The expansion. I'm flowing, I'm full, I'm free. Like I said, you've never been in lack of anything. So again, when we're not being paid our worth, it's because we don't believe in our own worthiness. We've got to sit with that, even though conscious mind might not feel that way. You might on the conscious level feel you are worthy, but we're not talking about conscious. We're not talking about consciousness. We're talking about subconscious programming. The stuff that was injected into your field of consciousness before you were able to decide. Okay? So hopefully that will help her. I don't think she's here with us today. Well, let's see where we want to go. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on like what the difference of any of these are? I mean, I'm not going to go deeply in this with you guys, but it's pretty, it's very simple to identify that any thought in your head, okay, it's never you. You've never had a negative original thought ever. As a source being, you don't have the capability to think a guilty, shameful, negative thought. But here's how you participate. You agree with it. The egregore or the thought form thinks the thought in your voice, and then you agree with it. And that's how you give it consent. You did not have the thought, ever. You're a little soul in the sun. You came here to be prosperity, not poverty. So you would never have a poverty thought. Ever. But you can agree with it. You can participate with it. And once you do, you become quantum entangled with that belief. Do you guys understand this?
Yes.
Yes.
So you mentioned that earlier, and then you said something about noticing the thought form and then being able to get rid of it or process through it or something. Could you give an example of that? Like, say you had some sort of negative thought form come up that you're speaking of now. What would be your way of handling that?
Great question. Great question. Okay, so remember, thought, okay, that's how you're going to find the thought form is through the thought. But how you clear it is through the feeling. So let's say a thought of, just give me one. I'll show you how to clear it. Anything. A negative thought.
Yeah, that I'm not worth that. I'm not worth asking for the money or whatever.
Okay, right. Or it's not that big of a deal or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Now, what I want you to do, and see again, remember, anytime you bring light to a shadow, it loses power. So what I want you to do is you hear the thought, okay, and you think it's you thinking it, but it's not. The thought is there. That's the thought form. You're hearing it in your voice. So what I want you to do is I want you to say it out loud as a question. We're not worthy, out loud, as a question.
So are you saying we're not worthy?
Yeah. Are you saying we're not worthy? You say that to the thought. And then you sit with it. Because if they say, yeah, we're not worthy, you own it. But as soon as you say, we're not worthy, how does that make me feel about myself? It's the same process, right? You say it in a question. Like last night, I was tired and blah, 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 I was like, my muscles were tired and I was driving, it was starting to rain. And like all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I started getting a little irritated with one of my pseudo roommates, ex-husband, right? For no reason. Zero. He did nothing. Like all of a sudden I'm like thinking about like I'm probably gonna come home to a mess or something. It was not even true. Okay. And I went, what did he do? I just said this to the thought form. What did he do wrong? I literally say this to the thought form because I'm getting so good at this. And it was like frozen. And I went, how does it make me feel when I'm tired and I can blame someone? Right? Does that give me power? Okay. Or do I feel justified or something? But again, it's like, how does it make me feel? Right. And then I was like, oh, I'm actually tired. And so I'm getting set up here. because I don't have full consciousness, you know? But in your case, it would be like, oh, we're not worthy. So let me sit with that. How does it make me feel when I feel unworthy? What is that emotion? Does it feel heavy? Like you can describe it. Like, how does it feel in density? Does it feel heavy? Do I feel small? Do I feel unimportant? Right? You can, and you can even write it down if your mind's playing tricks on you. Because sometimes what will happen is, even though that all of the thought forms like despise each other, this is why you like you're at war with yourself. When it comes to you figuring them out, they'll all start to work together. Okay. So you'll start to get other thoughts over here. So you may like want to kind of go, wait, let's just take a minute. You could even pull your phone out and be like, let's take notes on this. Like, how does it actually make me feel when I'm unworthy? It makes me feel like, nothing I do is good enough, or, no matter how many people I help or whatever. And then you're like, how does that feel? It feels heavy. I feel small. Like, it feels like I'm not seen. I'm not heard. How does it feel to not be seen? Feels embarrassing. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like, what's the point of existing? Right? Like nothing I do works. Like I give and I get, right? And so now what you're doing is you're getting down into the real emotion, and it's always going to be grief, right? Because you've already lost so much and you're exhausted. And then you're going to get down and go like, it makes me sad. It makes me sad that I don't get to be who I think I am. Right? And then you can just like put your hand on your heart and feel the sadness and breathe into it. So let's say it pops up somewhere. You literally are just gonna, I'm here with you. This is not true. But I am going to feel this with you. See, the thing is these thought forms are dead entities. They're not alive. That's why they're always running out of time. They're always hungry. They're always needing. They're always wanting. You are satisfied, full, right? You literally are like your signature of your higher self is satisfied and fullness, wholeness, holistic, holy. So you sit with them and you breathe wholeness into it. So if you just think along with it, then you just actually you gave an offering to the darkness for it to continue to speak through you. Because it's just like a vampire coming to your house. You have to let them in. You have to accept the thought. You have to agree with it. And because it's in your voice, and because there is a story of the past attached to it, you immediately buy it. And that is all masculine patriarch. I've got a story to prove it. Like I've got the video on camera of you doing this, and it was in your voice. I saw you. You see, so if you don't go to the emotion, okay, and question the thought, see, as soon as you release the emotion, you release the thought form. Because anytime you bring light to the darkness disappears. But see, we're not going to go thought to thought here because we cannot win a debate in thought. This system is all thought based. Our power is in our feeling. That's how we win. That's why it's divine feminine against the masculine energy. And I don't mean masculine, it's thought. So you can't outthink a thought form because that's all they do. And they have had thousands of years to study the English language and prove, and they've got footage. But if you go into the feeling, they literally have to disappear because they do not feel, they are not alive. Does it help, Morris?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you.
And again, you're just going to have to be present enough to catch the thought, to question it. The rituals that will help us remember our power as creator will be so helpful. Yes. And again, like I said, when you start doing rituals, though, you want to have a backbone. Okay. Don't start doing rituals if you are afraid of your voices in your head. Because your voice, it will, they will be like, she's doing rituals. Let's go gang up on her and create some major spiritual warfare so we scare the crap out of her so she'll leave this idea alone. Okay. You're gonna have some hours in the dark here before you start doing rituals. Because I used to do rituals and I just felt silly. And I actually felt like everything got worse after I used to do them. And now when I do them, it's like, oh shit, like she's coming for us, you know? And that's kind of why like I haven't like, let's do rituals. Because again, you can't fake this authentic authority. But see, even you questioning your own unworthy thought, that's authority. That's like being in a business meeting, right? And everyone's like, blah, 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 and the boss is like, blah, blah, blah. And then you're going, well, wait, okay, what is that really true? So you're questioning the authority of your own voice without taking it as true. And that's what I'm saying is all of you are channeling the darkness if you're not questioning your own negative thoughts. You're all channeling darkness if you do not question your negative thought. And if it's directed towards you, it's really harmful. So if you say, like I said, you start looking at your body like your inner child. Like nobody talks to my body like that, you know? And so you're going to question, like you're going to walk out of that experience where that guy shorted you, okay? And you're going to go, how does that make me feel? It makes me feel unworthy. It also makes me feel like I don't have the authority to ask for what I actually earned. Right? So then you go sit with it, and how does that make me feel? That I can't even go ask for what I was told I was going to have, and that what I actually earned in that, like, there's two there that we could go deep into. Because there's the emotion of when you guys think that there's an authority over you. A lot of you just quickly submit, but there is no authority over the flame, none. But they're waiting for you to call the bluff. If you don't call the bluff, they will always keep breadcrumbing you, hoping, but they will always tell you no. Or they will always short you on purpose because they know that that's going to, like you walked into that thinking, okay, like you probably already had every one of those dollars spent and you walk in and now you have to completely reevaluate the whole like month, right? And so it's not just the unworthiness. It's like the contemplation of like your existence there. So that would be one that I'd be like, wait a second. Not that I would go talk to that guy right now because it's just a reflection, but I would sit with all of the ways that what they do to us all the time, by the way, they love to over promise and under deliver because and when you don't turn around and be like, yo, bro, then it's actually an offering saying, I agree. So now we're not going to be this is who you'll be next month, Morris. You'll just be like, bro, cut me a check right now. And you'll have like so much authority in your voice. But right now, what we're doing is we're going to go clean up the emotion and the thought forms that allowed that guy to do that to you. Because see, they won't be allowed to treat you that way when you don't have the belief systems. That's why I said, you guys, there is nothing for you in 3D. There is no magic you're going to create, no love you're going to really feel, nothing that you can strive for. Your power is cleaning house, taking back your body, taking back your mind, taking back your authority. And then when you go play with the mirror, it's going to be a very different story. Because what you're practicing is doing is you are reclaiming your source identity. See, again, it's like the seed, it takes what it can get. Okay? But the flame, the bloom is like, no, I'm going to withstand this storm and I'm going to stand up to it. Because there's no voices saying, you're not good enough and, it's better than nothing and at least we can pay this. Because that's how we have been able to survive here, right? Or maybe it was just a mistake, You want to say something, Morris?
Well, I certainly went through all those thought processes
Mm-hmm.
about, doing that about,
Oh, I've
okay,
been there.
now what am I not going to pay? Or, all of
How do
that
I juggle?
stuff, and
Mhm.
giving him the benefit of the doubt and all that stuff. But then also going like noticing where I would be like, no, he did it on purpose. Like, and noticing all of the things. And man, I processed so many things.
Right. And that's
And
a thought form. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. So that thought form of he did it on purpose is the thought form of separation. Because here's the thing, in unity, we're unstoppable. So it turns you against people so that you can think like they did that on purpose. And then of course it's like, oh, that guy's got so much money and he's still short. You know what I mean? Because again, remember, the whole darkness is divide and conquer. Divide you from each other. Divide you from the truth. And that's why it's like I kind of sit in stillness every time I go live now because I'm like, I know what I'm saying is going to piss off all of your thought forms. And depending on how strong your source is, if it isn't, you will literally make me the enemy here because I'm exposing their entire setup here. And if they have had access to your essential life energy, your whole life, I'm not going to be the good guy in your story. And I'm like, I'm totally fine with that. Like, I kind of had to have a little conversation with one of my friends slash clients where like I could see that they were kind of like going on a tangent in this story. And I'm like looking at 3i Atlas and I'm like, um, hey, like I love you so much. Like you're in this story, you're asleep, wake up. And I know I triggered them, but I sit with it every time before and I don't care. That's how much I love you. I love you the same way I love me. And I am going to share with you what I have put myself through. Right. And I don't actually care because I know that once you start to do the inner work, you're going to come back around anyways because, like, I know your soul. Like, I know your soul for thousands of years. So I'm not worried about that. Right. But it's like if you have the thought of going against someone, like a separation thought, that's a thought form. Any thought of lack, any thought of judgment, any thought of criticism, you literally will not experience that. Like I can't even have a critical thought about my dog anymore. And I'm like, that dog was like, my thought forms really liked to get me irritated there because I was supplying them with irritation energy. See, every time you go into that spin, you're literally burning your engine out. So I wanted to kind of explain to you guys like how you lose energy with certain vibrations, okay? So let's talk about shame. Shame, what it does to your physical body. It's like driving your car 150 miles an hour with the emergency brake on. That's the frequency of shame. So if you are fatigued and tired and your mind is always working, but you're not getting anywhere, I want you to look for shame. Guilt. If you are constantly sabotaging yourself or being sabotaged, that is a frequency of guilt somewhere. And it ain't yours. You guys remember that they take the flame and then they pervert our religious beliefs because guilt actually makes you a really good person in religion, right? So you want to look and maybe and remember, consciously you might not think you have any feelings of guilt. But if you start to see sabotage, okay, like, or see yourself like being in sabotage of yourself, like I'm going to do all this embodiment work and then nothing happens, I would look for guilt. Okay. Like, okay. And you can even say something like this, like not thought wise, don't go into thinking mind, but like, what, what do I, what do I feel guilty about? And it might just be that I can't generate the money that my family needs. Right? I can't live the life that I want to live. Like you could feel like you're doing that somehow. Remember, it's like you take all the responsibility when you're a chosen one. Like, what responsibility am I taking for this system here? Do I feel guilty that I'm not paying taxes that they should be paying me? Like, you gotta really look at these things because you might have like you might have agreed to their system and you might need to unagree in certain areas. Okay? Because you cannot have two masters here. You can't have one foot in, one foot out. I'm not saying you don't pay your taxes. Like, I wouldn't ever. I haven't in like the last 5 years. Okay? I wouldn't because they owe me. I've actually looked up what my birth certificate is worth. I don't know if you guys have done that, but there's a way you can do that, and it gives you such a sense of worthiness. You have like 16 different accounts by now. It's your birth certificate number is your account number. Your social security number is your routing number. And I think at this one account, I had like $89 million in one account, and there was like 16 accounts with my name. So just feel that for a minute. You don't owe anything. Your debt is a scam. Your guilt is a scam. Your shame is a scam. And it's all designed to milk you. Because when you are a chosen one and you have an opposite emotion of who you really are, it's a very big charge. And that's why they want you guilted and shamed. Because you don't feel those things. All you feel is love. So what you're doing is you're putting love energy into guilt and it feeds a system. And their entire model, including religion, is to guilt and shame you into being the person that they want you to be to obey. It starts in school. It starts at home the first 5 years. And then you have the hypnosis of the moon that's constantly reflecting back to you that you're running in the hamster wheel. And then you've got Saturn, who's constantly keeping you on deadlines and keeping you stuck in systems. And so you gotta know who you're playing with here. But see, it's like I had this thought one day and I was like, oh my God, we got Saturn, we got thought forms, like, how am I supposed to do this all by myself? And the voice was like, you're God. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. But it's like, it seems like so much. But one little tiny flame is bigger than all of that because it's all smoke and mirrors. If I don't agree with the thought that I'm having, it disappears. You guys feel that? And whenever you're angry, I want you to stop and say, what am I actually sad about? Because if you can get to grief, even though they see where they want you is grieving, but grieving and hiding. Like they want you in a constant state of grief, but masked. Do you know what that means? Like when you're constantly sad, but you're putting a lot of effort to not be sad. You're laughing, you're hiding when you actually sit in total grief and you fully let yourself let go, they get terrified. But they want you in unprocessed grief your entire life. So every time you've been angry, you were actually sad. Every time you've been afraid, it's because you've been anticipating loss. Fear is the anticipation of loss because I have already lost. Shame is going to put you in a state of constant anxiety because you're so afraid to make a mistake. You're so afraid to get it wrong. That's another thought form. You know, before I studied demonology, you guys, I used to do medium work. So I would talk to these beings that were in between worlds, and they died in shame. They died in guilt. They died in confusion. And so that's all they are. They're just spinning. There's no other personality to them. So when you stop talking and letting them talk through you, they go back to the light, the thought forms. Now, the egregores, okay, those are not going to go to the light. Those are like genetically modified, intentional, ritualized thoughts that are created into a giant demon. And this is why even when you're just sitting there watching your social media and your camera is on, there's subliminal messages coming at your subconscious mind to put you into emotional state. Okay? Now, let's say you're watching a viral video. Don't watch that. Any viral video is planted. They control who goes viral. Now, you might just get the information or do like I do. I mean, you guys, this is a chip clip. Like, I'm like this, right? And then if I'm taking notes, I just put it in airplane mode, right? And again, I just don't want them having access to my field. And since I have been doing that and covering the getting the tech out of my secret place of the most high conversations, I have accelerated. And that's probably why you're noticing the classes are changing more, is because like it's sticking now. It's really like it's working.
So
It's getting all of the voices out. Go ahead.
I have another question on a caveat of this situation.
Mm-hmm.
My broker also happens to be one of my best friends for
Of
the last
course.
15 years, right?
Right.
And
Man.
so I noticed that then I would go into having compassion for him because he just recently has gone through all these treatments for prostate cancer and it's kicked his ass and he's been kind of off his game. And so then I compassionately justify what he's done. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I've always thought it was a good thing to have compassion for people and do my best to understand and walk in their shoes and all. And I'm seeing right now that that actually feels like a weakness.
It's a trap. It's an
Yeah,
empathic trap.
yeah.
Because here's the thing. If he has prostate cancer, then he has entities that he's unaware of. So the best thing that you could do is make him aware of his unconsciousness. So that's a really amazing share because again, like I said, we are not going to be burning in hell for our evil deeds. No, we are going to go on the wrong timeline because we have justified darkness's behavior and compassionately allowed people to treat us unworthiness because of what they're going through. That is another form of darkness. It's false light. Now, you're not being false light, it's just something we were taught to do. True compassion is making him sit in his unconsciousness. Because, like, when I go into
You
meditation
just went silent.
source, like,
Not
it's,
hearing you, Jess.
oh, you're not? Can you guys hear me? Everybody else? Okay. So, what I'm saying is true compassion
Mm.
is
Can.
making the
Oh, there you go.
unconscious. You can hear me?
Yeah.
True compassion is making the unconscious conscious.
Mm.
Like I said, holding space. Like when I told you guys, if you don't do your embody work, you're going to lose everything. Is that compassionate? It is.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking the same thing. It's like, well, if I tell him that, that's not very compassionate. But then I thought to myself, what would Jesus do? Right? Like, would he tell the truth or would he give you the lie that you can experience because you're hurt? But if you're hurt, it's because you're believing the lie. So if someone's got prostate cancer, okay, so let's look at that. Let's look at that as far as metaphysical. The prostate is the masculine womb. That's where he creates, not from the world system, but from source. And cancer means I am mad at myself. Cancer is self-hatred. Okay, it's the cells attacking other healthy cells. So again, before we compassionately justify people's negative conditions, right? See, to me, the best way to love someone is, first of all, to clear any charge I have with their story so that I can be neutral and an observer. Okay. But then also look at them as a flame or a creator and be like, if I don't share with them, right, then they're going to stay in their level of consciousness. Now, you don't have to share anything about the prostate cancer, but again, true compassion is looking at exactly what's feeding off of them. Okay. And then say, okay, like that would be the same as if I like had womb cancer. That means that my womb has become a tomb. And so again, of course, he's going to be in a vibration, maybe even if his bank account is full, he might be in a vibration of lack. And that's why he shorted you. Because obviously, if he's not running energy through his own prostate, then he's running energy through the system. Okay. So again, that's just more of that metaphysical, like practitioner approach. But true compassion is authenticity. What is authentic? Not so that, and that's why I've shared with you guys so many times. Jesus was not nice, he was kind. You know the difference. When you give people the benefit of the doubt, you're giving that thought form an offering. That you are more aware and empathic than they are, so you're going to let them off the hook. Now, I'm not saying you don't. Because again, when you get into when you clear out the thought forms, you'll know exactly what you want to do with this guy. And maybe it's nothing because source is going to give it to you another way, but you will have an inspired action on this. But you're not going to be compassion for someone's cancer because if they have cancer, that means that they are being eaten alive by thought forms. There is no victims in the universe. Okay. When I see one of my clients who is dealing with a health issue, I'm not compassionate over the health issue. I'm looking at what's bullying them. I'm looking at the thought form that has them hostage. And, right, if it really triggers me, I look for the same one in me. Okay, because again, like this is why they shut these three chakras down. Because if I'm told as a child I can't create my own reality, well, then I'm never going to look for the switch. And if I get really frustrated because I believe that I'm supposed to create my reality, but I never can, well, it could turn into cancer because anger can turn into cancer. Does that help, Morris?
So much.
And again, I really want you guys to look at the word authentic. Authentic does not mean nice. Like, would any of you, if I saw something coming for any of you guys that I knew that you might not want to be my friend after, but if I don't share it, like, would you want me to tell you? So then
Yeah.
treat your world like you want to be treated. But first you do the emotional work. Because if you go into that situation and speak your authentic truth from emotional hurt, the voice, it won't come out like the Christ. But if you do enough clearing, Morris, and you get really clear and neutral, and you say, you know what, I'm just going to let my Christ self speak to me through me the next time I see him, you'll say the most perfect words, but they won't be kind or nice. There'll be a revelation, and there might be a light bulb that goes off inside of him. Because, like, look at how he used to talk to the disciples. Like, there was actually one of his disciples that had a bum leg, and he would not heal that guy because he was being a victim. He's like, you're healing everybody but me. And he's like, yeah, why do you think? And it's freaking Jesus. Because, again, it's like, some people actually live their entire identity off of being sick because it's their way out of doing work. Like, have you ever been around a really sick person that's like, I'm so tired. And it's like all of a sudden you can feel like this instant, like wanting to cater to them. And you're like, oh, are you okay? And then you're like, wait a second. Like, they can do the breath work just like I can. Why am I? It's like, it's a weird spell that they have, you know? And then there's people who are sick that never want to talk about it because they don't want to face it. But like I said, the more of these thought forms that you guys get out of your bodies, and the more you detach from the system, the egregores will go away because they're only in your life because you're feeding them. Okay? And the more you focus on, oh, I'm having a thought, so let's go to the emotion. I'm having a thought, let's go to the feeling. Let me describe the feeling of that thought. Because here's the thing, if you go to the thought, it's going to multiply. Because you're a fire flame, it's going to get bigger. If you go to the thought, it's going to get bigger. And then it's going to take you down a tangent. Thought scenarios, thought forms, more thoughts are coming in. Thought, let me go to the feeling. Let me go into the feeling. How does it feel? How does this thought make me feel? What does this thought feel like? And then you're like a kid describing. It feels like this. It feels like that. It feels like, and you might even get stuck a couple times and might just need to like let out a scream or something, or get up and shake. Okay? Because you have booby traps set up, so you will not do this work. This, like I said, all they have is super intelligence. That's it. It's just like any like super villain. Only thing they have is their intelligence. They can outthink us, but not outfeel us. Because as soon as we go into our feeling, true, not masked feeling, not anger feeling, not the feeling that they want us to feel so we can generate some emotion, but some true feeling. And of course, we can have compassion for prostate cancer because this is your friend and you love him. But you're not going to let someone off the hook because of that. You're going to have compassion for his condition and allow him to be exactly who he wants to be. You know what I mean? But like that's like someone saying, "Oh, I forgot to feed you because I was hungry." You know, it's like, okay, I can have compassion that you were hungry, but you'll notice that when you have the unworthiness like thought form, which we all do, you're always giving people the benefit of the doubt and you're always putting people above you in order for you to get over it. Because you don't want to be mad, right? Does that help?
So much, Jess. Thank you.
You're welcome. Because we're getting into this. We're getting into the meat of this now. And again, this is not spiritual journey. There's no more journey. It's just here's the seed life. The seed life is literally contained by all of the negative thought forms. And then what's going to happen is if you're going to go to the sovereign timeline, you will combust. And so a seed's false preservation and false security is the seed, it's the shell. So how the seed ingredient stays safe inside of there is their shell. But in order to go to the sovereign timeline, you have to be alive and real, not just dreaming what it would be like to be a bloom. And so what will happen is your soul will start to bypass the mirror and start clearing all of your false securities. And you will be in grief and you will be in this, and it will literally feel like you're dying. And the only thing that's dying is the thought forms and the masks that have had ownership over who you believe you've been. Because you're not guilty, you're not shamed. So if you identify as that, that part needs to go. But you can't clear it out by saying, go. You clear it by taking the trash out that's in your body. Even though you didn't do it to yourself, you're part of the system that conned you into karma and all that shit. Like this entire game is run by duality, and we don't live in duality. So in order to play their game, we have to play duality, right, wrong, black, white, which means if he's right because he's sick, I gotta be wrong because he didn't pay me. You see? Whereas like, let's go into the neutral field where this is the perfect situation because it's a loop. I guarantee you, Morris, this is probably a loop. This is probably not the first time this has happened. So now you're going to be not just dealing with one thought form, you're dealing with the loop of constantly putting yourself out there and then being underpaid for it. So you guys want to look for these loops because if you can do the work now, you won't have to create a bigger unworthy manifestation to shatter you. So what we're doing is we're like gently cracking the seed by doing the inner work. Or if you keep waiting, the seed will be cracked for you through the pressure of the inside, not the outside. No one's coming to save us. We're going to combust. So it's okay. There will be days you feel like you're dying. There will be days you feel like you're going absolutely insane. There will be days where you are like no energy whatsoever. And I would say that's all part of sovereignhood because it's actually not you feeling those things. It's your ego dying. What is ego actually short for, you guys? Egregore. It's a governor that was given to you at 5 years old to govern your reality through separation. It's actually demonic, your own ego. Your ego lives in separation. Your ego believes money is separate from you. Your ego thinks time is separate from you. You think your health is separate from you. You think that that guy is separate from you. None of that is true. So even the belief in separation, if you believe in separation, that's an offering to the thought form. So what you need to do is when you witness separation, you say, I do not consent to the illusion. Where is this feeling in my body? How many times have I bought into separation? Because that's the big one, you guys. We're not here to be separate. We're here to be unique. But we are here to not be separate from our own branches. Remember that your dream car is a branch of your tree. Okay? Your dream home is a branch of your tree, and you cannot be you without your playground. So when you desire small, okay, that's ego. Okay? When you desire really, really big, the thought forms are going to tell you you're unworthy. Either way. You see, you're going to get caught on both sides. That's why you just have to burn everything down. You can literally even say, I burned down this illusion. Right? And again, you can use that anger to imagine burning the system down. Do not use that anger to get mad at that guy. Because he's only doing that because of the stupid system. It's important to direct holy rage at who's actually like instigating. Because this was all set up. Now, I think, like I said, we're playing chess here. So it's not like, oh man, we're just victims. No, your higher self's like, I'll allow that. I'll allow him to shortchange him because I know it's going to trigger him into his worthiness. And that's why your higher self will, especially right now, your higher self's going to be like, I allow it. This person needs to die. I allow it. This person needs to go. I allow it. This disease needs to happen. I allow it. And I'm not joking, you guys. I've seen it. I've seen what happens if you don't start going into your emotions and stop offering the yes to your own negative thinking, especially when it separates you from your intimate loves, relationships, family. Because when you study demonology, they have two very important things that they need to do by the time you're 5. They need to separate you from your family so you feel unsupported, unseen, unheard. You need to feel afraid of the dark. And they have to shame you or guilt you to death so you will never, ever want to open your seed. That's like their entire mission by age 5. The whole demonic realm, they have a family plan that they do. So it's not just you, it's all of us. And we're still waking up. The less you identify with separation and the illusion, the more clarity and awareness you'll get. Now, also, all these egregores, so create some angels for yourself. Hey, I would like to today create angels of memory. Help me remember now. Don't forget your power. It's not like you have to get over there before you start creating. Like, before you go to bed, tell your subconscious, while I sleep, you're bringing back full memory of my flame power. Like, you see the authority, and it's always easier to be in your authority when you're a little pissed off. So when you are in those little irritated moments, that's when you really have that strong voice, not when you're in grief. So does anybody have any last questions? Do you guys kind of see now where we're going with this? Like, again, in the Decode the Mirror class, like I'm letting you guys have the taste of demonology so you know what you're up against. So then when you're actually doing rituals, it's not like some new age love and light shit. It's like it's calculated and it's authentic with the elements as the 5th element. You are literally creating form through source when you do a ritual. Okay? And again, if there are so many rituals programmed in you, then Though even you getting money and spending money is still saying yes to the ritual. Okay? And it's one of the last ways they can control you. Think about it, if money wasn't an issue, how much further you would be right now. Like just that one little thing was gone. Like just think how much different you'd feel about yourself. Because you'd have a lot more freedom, you'd have a lot more choice. Okay? So remember that something outside of you that they literally made up is holding you hostage. Okay, so this is why, like for me, where I feel like I can offer you guys the most assistance is to learn how to play chess and learn how they are cheating. They are cheating. They're literally like across the table, telepathically telling you which move to make. Yes, Gina.
I just want to share something. So this week, I have a daughter and she's in the play Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole, right? So I've been just really struck by how what you're saying is just mirrored in this reality that I'm, entering this story. She's Alice.
Of
And she
course.
goes down the rabbit hole. And at the end, they're off with her head, and she remembers that she could just blow it all down with one breath,
Yeah.
right? And so at the end of
Mhm.
the play, after, she's getting ready to they're going to execute her, she just takes a big breath and blows it all down, And so anyway, it just struck me that um there are a lot of reminders in our external reality
They're
of the
everywhere.
truth, even though
They're
we're
everywhere.
still struggling. But, so anyway, I just
And they
thought I'd
have to
share
tell
that.
us the truth. And
Yeah,
this is why you guys always hear me quoting the movies,
right.
because they are telling us how to do this because they have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just was thinking that, like,
I love
that's
that.
what I have to remember. I just blow it all away because it's just an illusion.
Did you hear my song that I have called Wonderland Was Me?
I don't
Mm.
think I have yet.
Okay, if you go to the website, because she'll probably like it, because it's
Okay.
like, so you go all the way down. It's not on the main screen, but if you go
Okay.
down to if you go down to play the music on the website and you go all the way down to Prison to Prism, I'll
Okay.
screenshot the album, and it's like the
Excellent.
first song on the album, and it said Wonderland Was Always Me, and
Maybe,
it's exactly what you just said. It's
well,
like
maybe I'll
we've been
just
playing
have
this
her
game.
we'll listen to it today as she's
Yeah,
getting her makeup on and everything for the
you
show.
guys
I'll
will
say,
laugh
let's
because
listen to this.
it's exactly
Okay.
what you're saying. Because I had
Thanks.
that realization. I was like, oh, like we have this,
It's me.
and it's just like Dorothy. Like I have the power to go home whenever I want.
Hmm.
But again, if we are under hypnosis, you're going to keep playing this game. You're going to try to keep finding the odds. You're going to keep trying to see. There's nothing. Like I told my girlfriend last night, like even though this devastating thing happened, I said, you're never going to have love here the way you want it. So I know you had hope, but it's never going to happen for you here. You've got to let this world go, and then the new one is underneath. Underneath all the fake is the new world, but we got to stop playing in the circus, you know? So that's awesome. You'll have to show me pictures of her in costume. Yeah. Mhm. All right, guys. Love you so much. And you will be getting, some of you guys in the Decode class, you'll be getting lots of little random stuff from me, but just keep going. Okay. All right. Love you. Bye.
Thanks, Jess.
Bye.